morning. Here we are then. This is going to be the last, for now, Woodland Wednesday. And as promised, I'm back in the fighting trees. It's 4 days before Christmas. And I finished my Christmas special last night, which will be out on Christmas Day. Now, I don't expect you to necessarily watch it on Christmas Day because you'll probably be asleep on the sofa, but it's worth watching because I go through my 10 top images of the year, or since my YouTube channel began, which was at the end of August. It feels like a minute ago, but 3 months. And Christmas and New Year is kind of a time of year where you look back at your previous year and look forward to the next one. And I've really enjoyed my time so far as a YouTube creator, and I've really enjoyed it. The highlights have been the photographs. They always come first, and getting out my camera is always a joy. I think I've improved as well. Now, yesterday, I feel that I'm a bit tired today. I feel like I've got a cold coming. I sound a bit snuffly. I'm a part-time teacher, as you probably know, so I now only work on a Thursday and a Friday, but yesterday was our carol service in the church with our brilliant Key Stage 2, and can't miss that. So I went and gave that a look yesterday, and so glad I did. They were brilliant, some brilliant singing, made me very Christmassy. And I think what's happened is now in my head, that's now over for the term. Even though I'm only doing 2 days a week anyway, it feels like to me that I've finished. I can relax, and then what always happens then is I get a cold. But there we go. Right, let's have a look. So today, this is, as I said, this is the last Woodland Wednesday for now. I haven't really decided on what to do next year yet. The Christmas special is going to be up on Sunday, but I've decided, I think, I've asked Santa for some books on black and white photography, because black and white is what I used to do years and years ago. When I was working, when I was working as a photographer, it was obviously colour neg and colour slide film. But my personal projects were always black and white. I really enjoyed black and white and using Ilford FP4 and various other film stock. I used to love doing black and white landscapes. And I owned at that point a Olympus OM10, and I had some filters, a red one and a yellow one. And I want to show you a little bit about that today, because a red filter for black and white, obviously the colour still gets through because white light is made of colour. But what a red filter will do is it will filter all the other colours out pretty much, and it lets the red through, so the red will lighten up. Anything that's red will lighten up, and it has an interesting effect on greens and blues, as you'll be able to see. It darkens the other colours down, so that'll be interesting. The greens does the opposite. It lightens up the greens and darkens the other colours down a little bit. Doesn't really show up quite as much as the red, and if you're not quite sure about red, then you can use the yellow filter. And the yellow filter does similar things to the red filter, but not quite so intensely. So the good thing about the Fuji system is that it has those simulations built in. So you can just literally, that gives you a nice starting point. You can then tweak it and adjust it. But I'm definitely going to be doing some black and white photography in the new year. I'm kind of feeling that's what I want to be doing for a little while. So I'm going to be photographing the fighting trees. I'll photograph them in colour, obviously, but I'm going to have a look at the Acros simulation, which is the Fuji monochrome film. You never used to use it as a film stock, but it's very smooth and a very sort of standard black and white. So I'm going to put that film simulation on the back of the GFX so I can have to look at that. And I'm interested as to whether the fighting trees will look good in monochrome. I think, looking at them now, kind of in the corner over there, and these brambles have still not turned colour whatsoever, but the tree has definitely got some, and actually even the tree isn't orange, the leaves are starting to go, so this is really stubborn in these woods here. But I'm going to photograph it in monochrome because I haven't done that yet, and just see what it looks like. Now, monochrome photography, I used to think suited anything when colour wasn't, so when there was no light, when it was flat. But actually black and white doesn't really isn't really for that, because you do need a little bit of contrast, and sometimes really harsh light conditions can actually suit monochrome quite well. But I'll have a little play with this, with the film simulations on this, and what I'll show you at the end is a couple of different ideas. Right, down this big steep path without falling on my bottom. Here we go. So here we are at the fighting trees. As you can see, it's a bit of a dull day today. Just walking over here because a plastic bag. In fact, there's two. Let's see, we're going to get that one. Bit of plastic. Oh, here's a bag. So I'll put it in my bag and take home. I mean, there's the litter over here. It's not the best, but my daughter came over with a black bag, and she's autistic actually, but bless her, she goes to daycare, but she has a big thing about litter. She doesn't like things being untidy. I guess that's being autistic for you. And she came over with a picker and picked up a whole bag full of stuff, which is really good. And we do like to keep nature tidy. So I could clone this out, but as I can get to it, I'm not going to. Again, the old photographer in me, I have to try, if I can, to get it right in the camera. I don't mind processing, but I sometimes, with my processing, get confused about what I'm aiming for, and I'll end up with 5 or 6 versions and then can't decide the best one. So I like to do that kind of thinking. I've learned over the last 3 months. I like to get my idea as to what I want to do in camera, so that I can just go back and confirm that when I'm processing. But what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to shoot this on the standard Acros setting, which is normal, just normal black and white monochrome, and then I'm going to do it with a I think we go green first, green filter, then a red filter, then the yellow filter, and the simulation for that is on the back of the camera, which I'll show you in a moment. You won't be able to tell a lot. I'm still going to do the 65-24 crop, that hasn't changed. The exposure still has to be right. That'll be a train then. So that's the exposure still has to be right. But then what I'll then do is we'll have a look in Lightroom, and we'll just compare the straightforward JPEG with no correction whatsoever, so you can see what the various filters do. Let's shoot this. Again, I think with this scene, I don't think there's anything really that's inspired me. Will it come onto my top 10 on Sunday? You'll have to tune in to find out. Okay, I hope you can see that okay. So we're all set up. If I press my quick button here, this has got all of my custom menus on, which I really like on this camera, so I can just set those and change them. I've got the 2-second timer up here, different autofocus, the crop one. Okay, I don't really need RAW there, but this one here has got the film simulations. So if I tap that, we've got a Turner and various other ones, which I won't go into now. But then A's are Acros, and then we've got yellow, and we've got red, and we've got green. So we've got that the wrong way around. So we're going to start with Acros, and that will turn the monitor to black and white, and that's what the JPEG is going to look like. Now I'm still letting the sky burn out a little, because the most important thing is the exposure on the trees. Got that left-hand tree in, and I'm focused to f11, 1.5 seconds, running out of battery. But I've got another one in my bag, so that's okay. So that's that one, that's standard, that's the yellow one. And that will have a mild effect on the greens, because that's letting all the yellow light in. And it obviously is letting the other light in as well, but it's kind of reducing it. So red will let, anything predominantly red will go light, anything that's not red will darken down. And that has the effect of darkening down the sky, which I've used in the past. It works better if the sky is blue, but at the moment there's some clouds in front of it, so it's not really a blue colour, it's a white colour, which is probably why that won't have a lot of an effect. And this is the green, and this will have the effect of lightening up the green leaves. So what I will do is I'll take us back into Lightroom now, and we'll have a look at all 3 of these. I'm not going to process them at all. I'm just going to put them in as they come out of the camera, and we'll compare the three. Put these straight in with no correction whatsoever. So what we're looking at here, the top one is the standard Acros setting. It's not Arcos, it's Acros. That's straightforward monochrome. So I've zoomed in a little bit here. You can see I've zoomed into this corner, this area here. So I need to make a little bit smaller, because the interesting area is this bit here, which if we look at it on the colour one is the red leaves. This is obviously the leaf litter, and we've got some greens in front. If I go to, so the standard one is Acros at the top, so this is with the yellow filter. If you just watch, I'm just going to go red, green, and if you look at those reds there, that's lightened, that red filter is lightened those up a little bit, as has the yellow filter a bit. Let's move that over so you can see it a bit easier. That's fact. Let's do that. This will be easy to see. So this is the reference one is the top, and that's the same at the bottom there, and then we've gone yellow, red, green. You can just see it changing a little bit, and it affects the reds mostly, which is the brown leaves, and gives it a slightly different look. Now sometimes with a red filter like that and a blue sky, this sky will go really, really dark, but you can see today there's very little blue involved. It's a very flat light, so it hasn't really made an awful lot of difference. What I'm going to do now, this one here, you see this along the bottom, I got some light coming through, so I'm going to play with this particular image, which is an Acros yellow, and see if we can improve it, and I'll show you that next. Acros is the yellow one I've chosen. Those things, the temperature and the tint do make a difference, but I've left it completely as step the camera. Just drop the exposure a touch, and what I've done, rather than whack up the contrast, which was normally what I used to do, what I've done is lower the contrast, and then we've played with the highlights and the shadows and the whites and the blacks, so that will actually adjust the contrast. I've added a little bit of clarity, and pretty much that's it. Just change the crop a little bit. I mean, when I've shot this, that branch normally follows that branch, which it doesn't today, but it still kind of connects. So there's as you can see, some light coming from the right, which gives a little bit of interest here. With a nice blue sky, that would all be a lot darker in the background, but actually it makes the two central figures and central characters stand out a little bit. So I quite like that. I've chosen a white background as well, because that's what it looks like on the paper. It makes it easier. If I just get rid of that, we can be able to have a nice look at it. So it's all about texture and monochrome. And it's something that I do like. In a darkroom years ago, I would be cutting out little shapes of paper and putting them on bits of wire to dodge and burn these bits in here. On a computer, it's so much easier, but I quite like that. Right, so I'm going to wrap it up here anyway. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. End of year tends to be a time of year when you reflect on your journey and the future. So my journey from August the 28th, I think the first video was released on this channel, has been immense. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much to everybody who's watched any of the videos, liked them. If you're a subscriber, thank you, thank you, thank you. Come and see me on Christmas Day, or a couple of days afterwards if you're asleep. This next Christmas special, which is comes out Christmas Day at 6 o'clock, has got a top 10 of my favourite images that I've shot making this channel, really, from the year. So come and see if your favourites there. There's also an opportunity to win what I regard as my #1 image, which you haven't seen yet, but it is a banger. I printed it out. I managed to get my printer working. I had to buy a new printer head, new ink, and that's all now working. And I've now printed off my top #1 image, which you can have a chance to win. More details on that on Christmas Day, on the Christmas special. You have until January the 6th to enter, and then we'll do a draw on January the 6th to see who's going to get that print. So hopefully you can tune in for that. Going forward, my plans for the channel, there won't be another Woodland Wednesday for the moment. I think these two, the idea with Woodland Wednesdays was to follow the two compositions through autumn, and we've done that now. I'll try and think of something else that maybe I'll do on a Wednesday, but I may just put more time into my Sunday vlogs, which I've really enjoyed doing. Some Scottish stuff coming up after after the Christmas special. We've then got a magnificent day with hoarfrost, and a day at Flatford, and then I've also I've got a plan to go to the Lake District, maybe January, maybe start of February. And I also want to do some long exposure black and white photography. So it's categorised as fine art photography, but whether it is or it isn't, get my thoughts probably in February that will be. But I've got 4 local locations where I want to go and shoot, and there may be some more that come up. So lots to come from the channel. So please keep tuning in, even throughout the holidays. It'd be great to see you. Tell your friends, tell your mum. Have a nice Christmas. Stay safe. Have a great time. See you soon.